Hello and welcome to this spooky YourTown, Georgina Spotlight episode. Now, in this straight-to-the-point format, our guest, their organization, and their message is the star of the show. But just before I introduce today's topic, let me say, Ben, it's nice to have you back. I missed you on the last one.
I hated missing it. Glad to be back. Absolutely.
Good. Well, we can both agree that the podcast is richer with you in it. I'm sure our listeners agree.
I appreciate that.
Well, Ben, it is October, and you know what that means?
Halloween, spooky, some fun.
My birthday, yes.
Oh, that too. Yeah,
my birthday. Thanks for remembering. It's coming up in a few days. But you're right. There is another day that's arguably a little bit more significant to most people, and that day, of course, is Halloween. Now, Ben, where does Halloween fall on the list of favorite, well, we won't call it a holiday, but maybe annual events, celebrations? Where does that sort of rank in your list?
Always one of my favorites. I'll be honest, I trick-or-treated well past when it was considered acceptable.
Yeah, I was one of those.
Well into my teens and still trick-or-treating. And it was just a lot of fun with my friends. And now that I have little kids, I'm getting to relive it again.
I was going to say, it takes on, we go through this lull, and then we have kids, and we're reintroduced to it once again. The kiddos are excited?
They very much are. And I'll admit, we didn't even get into that much of a lull because before I moved up here, we lived in Toronto, and they shut down Church Street in Toronto to have a big Halloween party. So we'd always dress up for that. And we've never swayed too far from it.
Never been too old for
No,
Halloween.
exactly. It's just one night to have a bit of fun.
Okay, well, I do want to hear a little bit about the costumes, but let's go to maybe young Ben. Is there one that stands out in your mind from your time in Windsor?
Oh, good question. I think it was the year I was a little defiant. My grade school no longer allowed us to dress up for whatever reason. And it was right as I was discovering James Bond. Oh. And even as a youth, I figured out, well, they can't punish me for wearing a tux to school. And that's one of my favorites, going as James Bond.
Okay, but wait, did you go as Roger Moore, Sean Connery, Daniel Craig?
It was this predates Daniel Craig by a good 15 years.
I was trying to give you the benefit of the doubt.
I appreciate that. No, I appreciate that. But no, I think I was still Sean Connery at that point.
Wow, classy.
Yeah.
All right. Well, my mom kind of steered the ship on my costumes for probably a bit longer than most, and I don't remember not being asked for my input, but some of the ones that come to mind, I'm confident were not my ideas. Like the white sheet she presented me with, for which I assumed it's going to be like a classic kind of ghost costume. No, she cut a hole and placed it over my head, slapped a yellow circle on my chest, and then hung a sign around my neck that said, "I have egg on my face, and that's no yolk." Right. It's not scary, I don't think, but she thought it was aces. Or the year she traded the white sheet for a green garbage bag that she put over my head, taped a bunch of green balloons all over it, and she had me go as grapes. I don't know what kind of tape she used, but by the third house, I was just a garbage bag.
You were a grape.
Maybe one big grape,
yeah.
One big shiny plastic grape. Now I digress. Without going too deep, though, let me just touch on Halloween for a moment, or as it's also known, All Hallows Eve or All Saints Eve. It of course is celebrated all over, but maybe with an emphasis in Western countries, and it actually signifies the beginning of the observance of All Hallow Tide, which is the time of year dedicated to remembering the dead. Now, of course, today it's evolved into a celebration of horror or fear, and it's often associated with the supernatural or the paranormal. So I figured an October edition of the YourTown, Georgina podcast would be well spent talking about the Georgina Paranormal Society.
Fantastic.
Right. Now, I think that many of our listeners, they might not be aware of the Georgina Paranormal Society, and I admit to being a little bit in the dark, so to speak, until one day I was speaking with one of my neighbors, our mutual friend Pam, about some of the haunting history of Church Street in Keswick, where of course I live. And my neighbor said, Pam said, you have to reach out to the Georgina Paranormal Society for your podcast. There's definitely some good stories to tell, and so here we are. Now, the GPS, as it's referred to, is made up of local residents who are, and I'm going to quote here from their website, committed to the documentation and gathering of information on paranormal activity in and around the Georgina area, and are dedicated to undertaking confidential investigations of local hauntings and to assist those individuals in our community who feel they may be in need of assistance with a paranormal issue or situation. Do I have your attention?
You really do.
Sounds pretty interesting, right?
Absolutely.
So, well, I'm going to have to ask then, have you, Ben, ever experienced something strange that you can't quite explain?
Yeah. My house has a bit of a history. It's an older household farmhouse. And there's one night, my wife and I, we don't have air conditioning, windows open. So we were sitting there and one of the windows was open, or a few of the windows were open, but we were getting a bit cold. So we looked at one of the windows and said, should we close that window? And I can't remember who suggested it, but the other one's like, oh, I don't know. Do you want to close it? And all of a sudden the window just closed on its own. The window had been up for 6 hours at that point.
Oh, man.
And it was within about 8 seconds of our discussion that it just slowly closed on its own. And
wow.
And there's thumps and bumps in the night and things like that. So
wow.
It keeps us, it's interesting.
That is interesting an understatement. I think I honestly, I would say that if I'm going to have a presence in my house, that's the kind I want, where I just think about closing the window and then they close it for me.
If he starts taking out the recycling,
man,
we're golden.
You're never leaving that place. So, well, I appreciate you sharing that. And, out of the gate, I guess we should assert that our listeners likely fall into one of two camps, right? I mean, those that have indeed experienced those kinds of things, and maybe they seek or at least believe in a paranormal explanation. And of course, there's those who perhaps fall more on the skeptical side of the coin, where the paranormal doesn't really fit into their view of the world. Now, regardless of which side you do find yourself on, I am confident that you're going to find this episode educational and entertaining. And of course, Ben, I mean, that's what we're all about, aren't we?
Absolutely.
Okay, well, here we go. Well, it's my pleasure to introduce the founder, director, and investigator of the Georgina Paranormal Society, Lynda Quirino. Lynda, welcome to the YourTown Georgina podcast.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's wonderful to be here.
It's great to have you here. Now, Lynda, before we get started, though, some of our listeners may have already recognized your name, and they likely know you as one of the hosts of Georgina Life on Rogers TV. So while it's a bit of a sidebar, just before we get to the topic at hand, how about a plug for Georgina Life? Tell us just a little bit about that.
Well, Georgina Life is, yes, on our local Cable 10, Rogers TV Georgina.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, and it's been around for a long time. I've been doing the show. I have a co-host named Grant Peckford.
Sure.
And we've been doing the show for 8 years together.
It's already been 8 years of Georgina Life.
Well, longer prior to us being there. I think it's probably about 10 or 11 years now.
Yeah, that's great. And yeah, so if you're not already, a fan, a viewer of Georgina Life, make sure that you do tune in. And of course, when do we see Georgina Life?
Well, it's on multiple times during the week. It is, I believe, every Wednesday at 10 a.m. But it used to be live. Now it's recorded, but it's still multiple times a week.
Okay, awesome. So thank you for that. It's kind of a twofer in that sense, but we are going to get to the topic at hand, and I'm excited to talk to you about this. Now, of course, we've introduced you in relation to the Georgina Paranormal Society, and we're gonna sort of peel this back a layer at a time, I guess we could say. First of all, I would like you to define the term paranormal for our listeners. What exactly are we talking about?
Well, paranormal is really anything that can't really be explained away easily.
Okay.
So it could be, something ghostly that happens to you, something unexplained. Maybe you're experiencing a strange dream, something that you really can't explain away. And you're worried that it's something that is making others think that you're a little bizarre.
Okay. So in other words, it's a pretty broad umbrella then, the term paranormal. Like I think of the movie Paranormal Activity, and that's kind of a specific type, but it's actually a term to broadly describe really things you can't explain.
Absolutely. Could be anything. Could be finding dimes or nickels or feathers. It could be hearing strange voices in your house.
Yeah.
It could be really anything that you can't explain that makes you think you're going a little Looney Tunes.
Okay, great. Well, then I'm curious to know how did you first come to be interested in this topic?
I had experiences as a child. So I was about maybe 3 or 4 years old at the family cottage in Laurentians, because I grew up in Montreal and my parents had a great cottage. And interestingly enough, they put me to sleep in this bedroom downstairs. It was a 2-story cottage. And I used to see faces coming in and out.
Wow.
And they were great faces. They made me feel happy. They made me feel fine. They weren't scary at all, but I was little.
Yeah.
So when you're little, you take things at face value. And I just thought they were funny
Accepted
people.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally accepted it. My parents never said, you're crazy. You didn't see anything.
Yeah.
They encouraged me to talk about it. So I did.
That's great.
And I told them they wore funny hats. Yeah, I know. So they had sort of like a dent in the top of the hat.
Yeah.
So I would say maybe 6 months later, we were watching Dudley Do Right, and I pointed to the hat. And I said, that's the kind of hat that these people were wearing. And my mother then told me that my grandfather had constructed the home over an old Mountie station.
No kidding.
So there you go.
Wow. Well, with a start like that, I can understand the trajectory that you went on from there. That's actually pretty cool. I'm doing things a little bit out of order here, but you mentioned your Montreal roots, and I've yet to ask you, as I always do of our guests on the YourTown Georgina podcast. I'm curious how you came from Montreal to be a resident of Georgina. Can you tell us a little bit about how you came to make Georgina your home?
Yeah, it was really funny how it all happened because my husband and I had just gotten married in Montreal. We met at McGill University. We were both graduates of McGill. And he got transferred. So he was in broadcasting, actually.
Okay.
Working for the Chum Group in
Right,
Montreal.
sure, Chum, yeah.
And they were just organizing the Much Music French station, the Musique Plus.
Yeah, Musique Plus.
Musique Plus.
Believe it or not, I actually have a little experience with Musique Plus. I used to race cars, and I did an episode on, I don't even remember what the... I don't even remember what the show is called, but I did an episode of a show on that station, but I also drove a race car that was sponsored by Musique Plus back in the 90s. Mm-hmm.
That is very cool.
Just trying to make connections. That's
No, I like that. I like that. There's
Yeah.
a connection. So
There you go.
he was transferred to work for Musique Plus. So we moved to Toronto initially and then decided, I don't know if this place is totally for us, and kept driving north. Happened upon Jackson's Point, of all places. So I'm going to say in about 88, 89, we moved up to Jackson's Point.
That's great.
Bought a house in Keswick in 91, and the rest is history.
And the rest is history.
Got it.
Wow, that's so. I'm doing quick math. You mentioned 24 years, I believe, was the magic number.
Yeah, crazy.
It is crazy, right? Let's not talk about time because that's speaking of things I don't understand and can't wrap my head around. So
It's more like 30-something years now, though.
Oh yeah, you're right. You are
34
totally
years.
right.
Oh,
Yeah,
because I've been married a long time now.
yeah, you are right. My math is bad. It's
Yeah.
even
Wow,
even longer.
Even longer.
Okay, so let's get back to the topic at hand. I appreciate you sharing that. But you mentioned kind of your first experience and what got you going down this path of an interest in the paranormal. I have to ask because I suspect that at least some of our listeners are going to be incredibly open-minded and they're going to have their own stories to share. And then there's going to be the other side that is maybe looking at this as maybe with a little bit more skeptical lens and perhaps maybe for them this is purely just entertainment. Now, what, if I could ask, is your response to those skeptics who perhaps don't believe in the paranormal?
Well, I always say that I love the skeptics because most people are skeptical, and I like it because it makes me think. Being a skeptic is a really good thing, but skeptics are only skeptics until something actually happens to them.
That's a really good point. Yeah. I guess it only takes one time.
It only takes one time
to actually, change your position on this, because I have said this once, that, it really you can approach. We talked a little bit before we started recording, and my wife is very open minded when it comes to this topic, and she shares certain things with me, and I admitted to you that I fell a little bit more on the skeptic side, but I also I'm an open minded person, and I do think that I strongly believe it only takes one instance where there's something behind that, and then it kicks the door open for a world of possibilities, right? So, yeah, so that's an interesting one. Yeah, I suspect that dealing with the skeptics, as you put it, is just a great way to make your own argument stronger.
It absolutely is. Honestly, it's the skeptics that make me want to even research more, look into the field a little bit more. And honestly, most people are skeptical, but I find the skeptics usually live with people who've had experiences.
Yeah, well, you're kind of describing our household a little bit. That's us, Lynda. So, okay, well, let's talk about the Georgina Paranormal Society for a second. First of all, how did that come to be formed? And maybe you could share with us its mission.
Well, interestingly enough, before the Georgina Paranormal Society, I was with the Toronto Ghosts and Hauntings Research Society.
Okay.
For a few years, because in Montreal, I did a lot of this on my own or with friends. Mm-hmm. And then moving to Toronto, I got involved with them.
Okay.
And they would send me things that happened north of Highway 7 when I moved up to Georgina.
That's like way up north, right? I'm way up, but north of 7. That's the great true north.
Oh, yeah. You need snowshoes north of 7.
That's right.
So I did that for a few years with the Toronto Ghosts and Hauntings, and then left them and decided I think we kind of need something up here that's our own.
Yeah.
Because I found the majority of cases were centered in and around Georgina.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Really? So you mean that a number of the things that you were talking about down in Toronto actually...
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which is amazing.
So there's how do we describe it? It's an area that's potentially rich in paranormal activity.
It really is. It's funny how the GPS, I like to call it.
Yeah.
We go where the ghosts are. So
that's a great
right?
tagline.
There you go. But the GPS really started because the library up in Keswick had decided that they wanted to have me as a guest speaker about ghosts and hauntings.
Yeah.
So I thought that'd be great. And they thought, sure, let's do it. Let's see how many people come. So I figured maybe 10, 20. I swear there were over 100 people there.
Wow.
It was pretty crazy.
Waiting for someone, having their own experiences, waiting for someone to kind of formalize things and let's talk about it.
Absolutely.
That's really cool.
After I did the talk, I said, would anybody be interested in forming a group? Mm-hmm. So a lot of people came forward, and we started with about 7 people on the team. And we've sort of morphed and gotten rid of people, acquired people, gotten rid of more people, acquired more people. So yeah, in all of these years, and I formed it in 2012, we're finally at a place where we have 5.
Yeah.
And we get along really well, have our different areas of expertise.
That's great.
Which is good. And we're going to go.
A kind of a complementary group. Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely.
Well, I guess that's a great segue kind of to my next question about the GPS, if I may. And that is, who kind of makes that up? So in other words, can somebody join it? The GPS is it made up of volunteers? How does that work? What does that look like?
Well, the team itself, we're comprised of 5 people.
Right.
And as we need people, we will, put forth the hello, is anybody there?
Oh, you put the signal out there?
We do. We put it out there.
So to speak.
And we ask for, if we need someone on the team.
Yeah.
But generally, we have free public meetings that we have every second month.
Yep.
And people come, and we just consider them members of the Georgina Paranormal Society.
Very cool.
Yeah, but the team itself, we have 5 people, and everybody else that comes to our meetings that participates in anything that we do, we just automatically call them our friends.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Can I ask, I imagine that for people that are having paranormal experiences, there's a certain level of comfort knowing that the GPS exists. If that makes sense. In other words, that there's somebody that they don't have to convince and will listen to what they have to say with an open mind and take it from there.
Absolutely. And really, if you're having experiences that are frightening to you, and you don't know where to go, the fact that we're there and we will listen to them is really, I mean, a great thing.
Yeah.
Honestly, that makes me feel really good. It's kind of like a calling. All 5 of us in the group feel that we're doing some sort of a service to these people, these poor people who may not know where to go.
That's well said. It's an angle that I hadn't considered until just now, and hopefully that resonates with our listeners as well. I like that.
Absolutely.
That's great. Well, I want to learn more, and I am very interested in getting to some perhaps examples in just a couple of questions, but I want to build the foundation just a little bit more. Are there tools or equipment that you use to support your work? Now, and I don't want to make light of this at all, but we've seen, most people have seen Ghostbusters, and I'm not comparing. I don't want to make that comparison, but we also know that that's okay. They have this equipment that they use to track and to try to engage. Let's put it in the context of the Georgina Paranormal Society. To do your work, what type of tools and equipment are involved?
Well, mostly because all of us have had experiences, and we are very sensitive to experiences, sensitive to frequencies and atmospheric conditions. Pretty much the first piece of equipment that we use is us. It's our senses. It's our bodily functions, the way they actually react to the atmosphere.
That's interesting. Yeah.
So that's the first thing. The second thing is, of course, validation. We need some sort of tools for some kind of validation.
Yeah.
And so we do use specific things. So we have digital voice recorders. We have what we call a spirit box, and it looks like a transistor radio. So what it does is it scans AM and FM frequencies at different rates of speed,
right?
And it creates white noise.
Yeah.
And it's through that white noise that ghosts and spirits can speak to us.
Interesting.
Kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
Very interesting. We also have what is called a REM pod. So it itself makes noise if something comes near it. So if it detects something with electromagnetic energy,
right,
then of course it will beep and go off. So that's a really interesting thing. If you're putting it in a room where people have seen things or experienced things, or they believe that there's a spirit there, sometimes it will speak with us by going closer to that piece of instrumentation. So that's interesting.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we use cameras. We use digital cameras and regular cameras. Whatever camera you have, we always say just use it. Doesn't matter if it's digital or not, because sometimes you can capture what we call orbs or spirit energy, anomalous, I don't know, beams of light, things like that you can't see with the naked eye that will pick up. We have all kinds of other pieces of equipment that we use. Cat balls that light up in case there may be something, maybe a child would like to play with it. It will roll on command, which is kind of fun, and it lights up, so that adds to the mystique. EMF detectors, electromagnetic field detectors, which will light up when we ask them to, or we're in the presence of a different EMF frequency. Wow. There's all kinds of little things.
Quite a toolkit.
We have quite a...
That's really interesting. There's a couple of things that I was going to comment on. The very first thing you mentioned was using your body, and that circles back a little bit to the discussions that I have with my wife sometimes about this, because she'll accuse me of not being open-minded to it, and if I'm honest, she's not wrong. I'm not. I can be a very non-self-aware person. Sometimes I don't even know that I pulled a muscle or that I need to go to the doctor for something, let alone being able to be in tune to energy or things that are happening that I can't explain. On the other side, to use that word energy again, you'd mentioned that a couple of times in picking that up, and I think that is the source of a lot of people who justify their belief in this, is that we know that energy doesn't. You can't kill energy. It never goes away. It has to go somewhere, right? And I imagine that principle or that idea must factor into the work that you do.
Absolutely. I mean, you're right. Energy doesn't die. So I like to look at us as wearing some sort of an earth suit. So the earth suit is what, we wear on a daily basis. But then,
That was
that's good. I like
it's the first time that's happened in one of our interviews. That was a walnut from above, so you might have heard that. But interesting timing for the first time for that to happen. That was great.
I love that.
Okay, that was not planned.
No,
Okay.
that wasn't planned. But no, when you're talking about energy just changes form. So when we get rid of our earth suit and we leave it behind, we're still that energy.
Yeah.
But what is it? So when I talk about orbs, for example, there's so much controversy. I mean, you talk to so many paranormal investigators out there and they'll say orbs are hooey. They're nothing.
Okay. Yeah.
But I mean, I've been in this field for 43 years. As an investigator. And I definitely know what's real and what's not real in terms of orb energy. And there are spirit orbs that exist in places that are really, really active.
Yeah.
And absolutely. We just change form. So whatever that form is, it could be a mist, it could be an orb, it could be, a dark shadow. We take on different forms.
Yeah. Okay. The knowledge circular is expanding quickly. So there was some big gaps in my mind, and you're filling them in very, very effectively. So I'm very interested in this, and I'm really keen to get to maybe some examples that are local to Georgina, and I'm sure that our listeners are as well. So I'm wondering if maybe you could give us some insights, and I don't really know where to start. I'd look to you for guidance on this, Lynda, but in terms of local hauntings or just paranormal activity, is there any that stand out that you'd care to share with me and our listeners?
Well, there are a lot of really active locations in Georgina and a lot of stories associated with them.
Okay.
But in Georgina, I mean, gosh, there's so many. It would take hours to talk about them.
Yeah.
But if you live in Keswick, if you live in the Keswick by the Lake subdivision,
Yeah.
one of the most haunted areas in Keswick.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
But isn't that like a relatively, I don't want to say it's not, certainly not a new subdivision, but it hasn't been, I think there's this expectation when you talk about paranormal activity that it's like, no, there's an old grave site over there. It's not the 25-year-old subdivision that's behind us. So
Right.
Tell me, can you tell me a little bit more? What's so special about that area?
Well, it's interesting because when you're talking about hauntings, and people always assume, but it's not old.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be old. It's the land that it sits on. So we're talking about the land.
Yeah.
That land, it's very high land. So people will say, well, that's, maybe it's one of those, ancient Indian burial grounds or whatever. It's not.
Right.
It's not. It's just high ground.
Okay.
And there's a lot of rich history here in Georgina.
Yeah.
So you're talking about the land being here for a long time. We don't know what happened there. People might have traveled there.
Yeah.
They may have camped there. They may have used that area because it was high.
Yeah.
They may have used it for some sort of ceremonial, I don't know what.
Yeah.
But there are so many stories that people have reached out to us about that involve small children.
Really?
Child ghosts in that subdivision, hearing things.
I was going to ask you and I don't mean to interrupt, but when people come to you about these things, I assume it gets particularly interesting when you can identify a red thread that connects like people that don't know each other, or perhaps and all of a sudden you're like, well, there's actually a theme that's clearly standing out. That must be where it gets particularly interesting.
It is really interesting when that happens. It does happen when people just contact us randomly, let's say, through our website or through Facebook or whatever. And we write down all of the areas that these things are happening. And so sometimes we ourselves can kind of see that thread happening, which is fascinating. But often it'll happen at a meeting, so at a public meeting, where someone will say, well, okay, so I live on, let's say, Burnaby. I live on Burnaby Drive, and these weird things have been happening to me. And I've been seeing a ghost of a little girl in my bedroom. And then somebody will say, well, I live on, Carrick, and I'm seeing a ghost of a little girl. So that's when they themselves, they meet each other. So it's a safe space. And they realize, oh my gosh, I'm in the same area and I'm not crazy.
Yeah, like we talked about before, the
it's
comfort
great.
in meeting the community or being able to engage and discover a community. That's
Exactly.
very important.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah,
It's true.
that's really interesting. Okay, now I'm curious. That's one example of kind of I don't know if you use the term. It's not a hot spot, but a hotbed or a bed of activity for in terms of paranormal activity. I do know that we're on Church Street here, and it's an old street with a lot of old homes as well. And I will say I grew up over in Windhurst Gardens, like by Crates Marina, and my wife has spent a lot of time over there. She's never brought up anything or sensed anything, but there's something about this 155-year-old house that we're living in that I don't know. Things come up. Now, I know you said it doesn't have to just be about age, but the older places in town, we've had so many generations and so much activity over the centuries. I just imagine that's where you're likely to encounter this kind of thing.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, the older the location, the more experiences people have had, the more families have lived here, the more things have happened. And Church Street is a really, active street.
Is that right?
Yeah, there's apparently, according to legend, there's a ghost of a teenage girl who wanders the streets when atmospheric conditions are just right. And apparently there was a doctor who lived on Church Street.
Yeah.
And way back when, of course, you didn't have buses or cabs.
Yeah.
And someone needed medical attention. Usually you had to walk wherever you were going. And apparently this teenage girl was quite ill.
Oh.
And the father walked this child to the doctor's house on Church Street.
Okay.
And the doctor wasn't home. So, according to the neighbor, the doctor wasn't going to be gone long. So he left the girl on the porch and he himself walked home.
Okay.
And apparently he took a little longer to get home, and she happened to pass away on the porch, and her spirit still wanders the streets looking for her father.
I don't know that we're going to be able to let my wife listen to this episode. I'm afraid. Oh, wow, that's a great one. That's a great. Am I mistaken, or did I not see? I don't know if it was on Church Street, but I know I saw a TV show where some one location right around here was actually featured. Do you know what I'm speaking of?
Creepy Canada.
That's what it was.
Creepy Canada, and that was Sax's Fish and Chips.
Okay, just down the street is where it was, right?
Down the street, and it has become other things too. I think it was oh my gosh, Uncle Eddie's or Cousin Ed. No, Uncle Eddie's place.
Yeah, it's gone through a number of different kind of iterations, or a number of folks have gone through there. This has there's a bit of a history there.
There's a huge history there. It was haunted by a couple of ghosts, mostly in the basement.
Yeah.
Actually, we did an overnight investigation there in 2017, and it was a very active place. We had some movement going on there. We saw some things that, out of the corner of your eye, and mostly that's what happens. People will say, well, I see it out of the corner of my eye. Yeah, you do. But voices and just kind of odd things. Yeah. But I did know someone who had a direct experience with the ghost in the basement at Sax's Fish and Chips. He was there with his wife, and he went to the bathroom in the basement, and something
I've been in that bathroom.
Something didn't like him, because he said, and he was ethnic. He has a great, wonderful accent. Yeah. And he said out loud, "I don't believe that this place is haunted." Of course, when he was leaving, the paper towel, the whole thing of paper towels just got thrown at him.
No way, really, eh?
So he believed after that.
Wow, that's pretty awesome. Okay, so I don't want to be accused of because we are based in Keswick. I grew up in Keswick. I want to maybe expand out a little bit and give a little bit of attention. Is there maybe one in Sutton that jumps to mind that we could share that maybe is a little closer to home to our friends in Sutton?
Oh, there's lots in Sutton.
Oh yeah.
River Street, very haunted.
Yeah, River Street.
And River Street actually and High Street have a lot in common, because these very tall, dark, top-hatted men, apparently, from time to time, are seen wandering around, and they're very tall. They actually can look in the second story windows.
Oh, that's
kind of creepy.
kind of.
Kinda
That's pretty creepy.
Kind of creepy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So so those are kind of identified as the two main spots, River Street and High Street. Eh?
River Street, High Street, and of course there's St. George's Churchyard.
Okay, well, that's, you know what's weird, and this is absolute honest truth. When I said those are the main areas, that was exactly the location that I had in my mind to kind of think of next. I was just, it's a little bit, that corner around by Sybil, like where that is, it's a little creepy depending on what this guy's doing, what time of day it is.
It's creepy. That churchyard, I mean, Mazo de la Roche is buried there.
Yeah.
Stephen Leacock is buried
Right,
there.
of course, yeah.
So many greats are buried there. And if you have a chance, you really should take a tour of the churchyard with the church warden, because you won't believe how many people are buried there.
Okay.
But there are all kinds of things like shadows and lights, random lights that are seen early in the morning hours. We've done some investigations there. We've gotten some EVPs. I don't know if you know what EVP
I don't know that
is.
acronym. I know, you got to help me.
Electronic voice phenomenon.
Okay.
And that happens when you turn on a digital recorder and you ask questions to the air, seemingly.
Yeah.
And because spirits and ghosts can access different frequencies, and so can those little pieces of equipment, they can pick up on them. So you can ask questions, and sometimes you get answers.
Yeah. Oh, man.
So when you play them back, you can actually hear different responses, and we've got some interesting responses. So,
oh, man,
it's
you can't have like a conversation, I'm assuming, but you could get at least a response to an input and a response.
Absolutely, you can.
Wow,
You can.
Okay.
It's quite fascinating.
All right, so we should let's jump a little further. I won't be able to hit every small every small spot within Georgina, but why don't we jump to Pefferlaw? Is there anything to share with regards to Pefferlaw?
Pefferlaw has a haunted train.
Really?
Yeah. So many people have. It's really weird.
Yeah. Okay.
I never would have believed it, but many people have reached out to us saying that 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, they're coming home from work, or they're coming home from an event or whatever, and all of a sudden they hear a train. So the lights may go off, the lights may not go off, but they will actually hear a train approaching.
Yeah.
And they'll feel the wind from a train, but there's no train.
But there's no train. That's pretty good.
It's creepy.
It's pretty good.
It's creepy.
I'm reframing my nighttime walks in these places in the future. Okay, I am going to ask about maybe one more. A friend of mine, Pam, who actually was the one that really said, "Hey, you need to get Lynda in there and talk to her about the Georgina Paranormal Society." She said that I should ask about the Civic Center. And now she was a public servant, so she worked there for years and years and years. And most of us are familiar with the Civic Center. We've been there for one reason or another. What's going on there? Is there a story there? Is this a play? Is this an active spot?
Oh, the Civic Center is incredibly active.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Many paranormal groups, including us, we've been there.
Yeah.
We've done investigations there, and people who work there do have lots of stories.
That's what Pam told me.
Lots of
like
stories.
The staff, the janitorial staff, or the caretaking staff, I should say, that are spending, there are all kinds of weird hours. There's been several different accounts from several different people, independent of each other, with regards to that space.
Absolutely. And they're the same stories. So,
really?
When there's that commonality, right?
Yeah.
of experience, that there's something going on, but there's so much there. Movement, photocopiers will just turn on by themselves. Papers will fall when nobody's around.
Right.
There have been voices that have been heard in the basement, doors opening and closing by themselves. All kinds of creepy things have been going on. Orbs, a lot of orbs that you can actually see with your naked eye, and not just on film.
Wow.
So there's a lot going on. I mean, that was, a monastery. And
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So all of the offices used to be the little rooms where the monks used to sleep. So
wow.
it's crazy.
I wonder
place.
how the new build is going to. I wonder how that'll affect it. Or like in that situation, Lynda, is based on your experience, would that activity remain over in that geographic space? In other words, like it wouldn't transfer to the new building, or what are we talking about here? Would you have any insights into that?
Well, from my experience in all of these years,
Yeah.
honestly, it can absolutely travel from one location to another. So
Okay.
certainly the whole area is really active, really haunted. So it's not just the Civic Center, it's the Pioneer Village, it's the entire area.
Wow.
Because the entire area was where the monks used to live. The entire area is very active. So absolutely, it's not just on the site of the old Civic Center, but they can absolutely travel if they want to. So you never know what the new place is going to have.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I'm gonna jump back. At the beginning, you'd mentioned that one of the ways that you sort of defined paranormal activity was simply things that you can't explain, and we identified that as being a fairly broad umbrella. And so, I want to ask you about another entity, another type of activity, Agapogo. Otherwise known as the Lake Simcoe Monster. Okay, I was hoping that you could maybe tell us a little bit about what you know. I assume that still falls under the purview of the GPS.
It does. Anything that you can't explain.
Yeah,
So that could
okay.
be cryptids or, lake monsters.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've been getting all kinds of reports. I think, actually, 200 years ago, I believe, was the first report of a monster in Lake Simcoe.
Okay.
And they describe it kind of like Nessie.
Yeah.
It's got a long neck.
Right.
and
The Loch
it's-
Ness Monster, Nessie, most people know. Yeah.
Absolutely. So a lot of people have seen this monster, and there is a book about the monster that's
Okay.
been written by Rod Urquhart out there.
Okay.
Fantastic book. But people just describe that, there is this long-necked monster
Yeah.
in Lake Simcoe. And people have been afraid to swim
Right.
in Lake Simcoe for years and years and years. And when we moved up here, we thought, sure. But we've actually had a couple of people reach out to us. And the GPS was doing an investigation of the churchyard.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. We took a random shot because it was a beautiful night, so
Yeah.
before the sunset. And it would appear that we've captured perhaps Igapogo.
No kidding.
Yeah, no
Really?
kidding. Yeah.
Well, I was on your. I've obviously spent some time on the website, and there is, and you're not really shy, but you share some of video and photographic evidence of some of the work that you guys have done.
It's crazy.
And it's-
Honestly, some of the things that we've seen have been pretty incredible. And we've been so blessed to be able to go into people's houses. They're very trusting.
Yeah.
There's always a non-disclosure, of course,
Yeah.
because people don't want other people to know where they live.
Yeah. Fair
But
enough.
you can certainly share the area that the people live in. So
Well, okay. Before we totally close off the topic of the Lake Simcoe Monster, you mentioned the book. A Monster in the Lake Simcoe is the name of the book. And can you maybe, for those listeners that are interested in maybe finding a copy, where can they get a copy and learn more about Agapogo?
Well, A Monster in Lake Simcoe, Believe It, by Rod Urquhart.
Yeah.
And he wrote it with investigator Bruce Roach, who also is local. You can get it at the Georgina Center for Arts and Culture.
Great.
And other little areas. I'm not exactly sure, but I know that you can get it there. And that's, of course, on High Street in beautiful downtown Sutton.
It is beautiful. All right. Well said.
Yeah.
Could I also ask, though, if people are looking to perhaps engage a little bit more, does the GPS have events that people can take part in, perhaps guided by members of the GPS?
From time to time, yes.
Yeah,
We do have walkabouts. So we had one recently. We always have a graveyard walkabout. So last summer we did the Man's Cemetery, and that's on the Queensway North.
Yep.
This summer we did Briar Hill Cemetery, and that's of course in Sutton.
Yeah.
And there's tons of stories associated with Briar Hill. And of course with man, but that's another story. But you know what? Honestly, they just need to follow us, and we always post either on our website or on our Facebook page,
Right.
where we're going to be. We have taken people to, oh gosh, De La Salle Beach. That was a fun one, where we saw, or our team clairvoyant saw, I should say, elementals coming in off the water, and we actually got some really good EMF hits that night. So,
No kidding.
yeah, so people love to go on our walkabouts and
No
just
doubt.
talk to us and experience kind of weird things. But you know what? What's life if you can't experience a few weird things?
Very well put. I couldn't agree more with that. Well, I think you kind of covered off where I was going to go next, but I was going to ask, if people want to learn more about the Georgina Paranormal Society, its events, or they want your support perhaps in some way, where should we direct them? Is the website the best place to go? What would you suggest, Lynda?
The website is a good one. It's georginaparanormalsociety.weebly.com.
Okay.
We are working on a new website, which is great. And once we have a new one, you'll automatically be redirected to it. So not to worry. You can go to our Facebook page, Georgina Paranormal Society, and we're on. That is supposed to be X and not Twitter, right?
I believe so.
think
Yes.
so.
If we're staying on brand, yes, I believe that's
We're
the case.
on there, and it's at Georgina Ghosts.
Okay.
So there you go.
Oh, that's perfect. Well, I think there is there's a lot of interesting things that you've shared, Lynda, but I think one of the great takeaways for our listeners, especially those who perhaps have had their own inexplicable experiences, is that there's a community out there, a community of support, and there's always somebody that's ready to listen.
Absolutely. We're here for you.
That's a great point to end on. Well, Lynda, thank you so much for being a part of the YourTown Georgina podcast.
Well, thank you so much for having me. And, just send us your stories.
We'll do it.
Thanks.
Thanks. Okay, Ben, so what did you think of our interview with Lynda and talking about the Georgina Paranormal Society?
Really fascinating. Like you, I lean a bit more towards skepticism, but at the same time, I love the stories. I love finding it fascinating. One of my favorite things to do when I travel in a new city is, if I have time, go on a ghost tour.
Come on, really?
Go on a ghost walk. Absolutely. Love doing that when we're traveling.
Okay. Well, you heard me. Like I asked Lynda a little bit about, or any events that you guys hold. We do walkabouts once in a while, and I already know that my wife has got her name first on the list for that. So maybe you can be right behind her. Now, for me, part of it, or the learning experience, actually, right at the gate, was learning what was meant by paranormal. I suppose I could have looked it up, but Lynda's explanation, just of really anything that can't be explained, it's a pretty, it's obviously a fairly wide definition of it. It encompasses quite a bit. We even got to a little bit of a discussion of the legendary Lake Simcoe monster, Agapogo.
Yes. Yeah. I had no idea that was, again, I'm fairly recent to the area, only been here since 2016, but I had no idea of that history.
Right. Or how about the tools and equipment? I mean, when she started listing, and I hope I didn't certainly mean to make light of anything by referencing the Ghostbusters, but when we talk about the paranormal, we have this image that comes to mind, right? They have these detectors. You got a backpack on, and
it's exactly. I don't think you did discredit them at all. It's a big part of what we know, that we've all seen that movie. It's a big part of what we think of when we think of paranormal. So it's the natural thing to bring that up.
Yes, but who would have known there's science kind of behind it, and you're using that sophisticated equipment in order to sort of bring these experiences to life. Now, we both live in very old homes, and I shared a little bit in my interview with Lynda about my wife's open-mindedness to paranormal activity, and it was interesting when immediately after the interview, Jay had asked me, my wife had asked me, I said, what was it like? She was really interested to know all about it. And I immediately referenced, well, actually, she was telling me about hauntings on Church Street, and mentioned this this one child that, and before I'd even got the sentence out, I'm like, she had no idea what we had talked about, but she actually said, ask this person, ask that person. I've talked about this young girl before, and dreams I've had and experiences I've had. And I immediately had a small chill go up my spine. Again, maybe it was coincidental, but I thought it was I don't know. Coming off the chat with Lynda, I thought it was a pretty interesting coincidence.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, speaking of old homes, I know we've been prone to a few things that we can't explain, and I know you touched on one in the preamble that you experienced with the window closing. But I remember, I mean, long before the context of this podcast or this topic came up, you telling me a story about the undetermined whereabouts of the previous owner of your home. Maybe share with our listeners what that was about.
No, absolutely. The previous owner, it's a farmhouse again, and my father-in-law grew up in the farm right next door, so he remembers him. And then one day he just simply disappeared. Did not come home from his activities that evening. He was never seen again. The car was never seen again. There's a lot of theories. One of the theories is he's, in our basement, which is kind of funny because we have our dog. She will not go down to the basement.
Really?
It's just a dirt floor basement, but if you try to carry her down there, she'll scratch up your back. She doesn't like anyone going down there. If anyone's down there, she gets very uneasy until they're back on the main level.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny. On Ravenshoe, there's a tiny little cemetery, family cemetery on the south side between Kennedy and Ravencrest and Catering. And his tombstone is there, but it's his birth year.
Just a marker.
It's his birth year - blank.
Oh.
There's no closure there.
Right.
So
it's not just there's no body. We don't know if he disappeared. We don't know what happened.
One of the other theories is he drove his car out it was winter, so he drove his car onto the lake and disappeared. That one, supposedly they got planes up because this happened in, as I said, 60s, I think.
Right.
They got planes up, couldn't see anything, couldn't see any holes, couldn't see any cars in the ice or anything like that. So it's apparently he did have, and this is stories, but he did have some enemies. So
okay,
who knows what happened? But it makes and then our house sat vacant for 20 some odd years.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Really? Well, I think maybe for your best interest, we'll certainly keep the official address and location off the record. Right. I don't know it's going to support your resale value. So
no, fair enough. It's but it's we do, when we hear thumps, we do go, Harold.
Yeah. All right, Harold, do you mind closing that window?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, wonderful. All right. Well, it's, from my perspective, it was kind of nice to get confirmation that the street you live on is a hotbed of paranormal activity. I'm like, oh, wow, that's fantastic. But I'm going to admit that the one that stuck out in my mind was that reference to River Street and High Street and the men in top hats that are tall enough to look through the second story window. That one lingered a little bit.
That's
me.
an odd one.
But let's talk about, let's pivot for just a moment on our debrief here. But, I had a bit of an aha moment when Lynda was talking about the support role of the GPS. Initially I pictured the activities, whether they be real or not, what your perspective is, to be more for fun and excitement. But suddenly there was this other layer that couldn't be described really any differently than community support, that believers or not, there are things that happen to people that can't be easily explained, and how comforting it must be to have somewhere to go and someone to speak to where you feel safe and you're free from judgment. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. It gives them that sense of community. They can explore this together.
Yeah. It was an angle that I hadn't expected going into the interview. So
Likewise.
Always nice when that happens. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, thanks again to Lynda Quirino for giving us her time. I hope you enjoyed learning about the Georgina Paranormal Society and perhaps about a different side of Georgina. For some, it may be comforting to know that the GPS exists. Others may have simply filled in a few knowledge gaps on the topic of the paranormal. But for all, my hope is that it makes your October 31st just a little bit more spooky. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. And of course, subscribe. And if you like what you hear, rate and review us and help us get the word out about this great town. With that, let's turn it over to our good friend, Bernadette Connors. Happy Halloween, everyone. We'll see you next time.
I'm a sister, I'm a daughter, I'm a lady of the lake. I I learned to drive on a dirt road, and I got all it takes. I see myself in the water, and my footprints in the sand. The moon can push and pull the tide, but this is where I stand. Georgina, I could never really leave ya. I've been all around the world and still you bring me back again. Georgina, I've got friends in the city. They've got a tower and everything. I tried it out for a little while, but where you don't have roots, you can't grow wings. Georgina, I could never really leave ya. I've been all around the world and still you bring me back again. Georgina, when I'm gone I dream ya. Late at night, later on, you're always on my mind. Georgina, should I stay or should I go? I'll always be scared of the great unknown. I see myself in the water. I see myself in the water. Georgina, you know